This is Max N. Caparato at 12,060 feet. You can get as high as I am by watching the Quite Frankly podcast.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Okay. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. Okay, it's hump day. So how you guys feeling over there? I almost had a little bit of a lighting problem over here before I went live. This top light would not go on for me, and I had to reboot it. I had to reboot a light. I can't stand it anymore. And so if it turns off and we're just like half in the dark, I just don't even give a shit anymore. It'll be a little bit more cozy. You'll be whispering in the dark. Over here on a June 24th, 2026. And our good friend Alberto Marchetti got in touch with me. Actually, I was talking to him and Vinny Brusco earlier on today to figure out a nice July return date for both of them. And I asked Alberto, hey, what's going on? Is the baby coming yet? And he's like, actually, we're going to the hospital right now because there was, contractions and she may be here by the end of today. So praying everything's okay. I haven't heard anything back. But I'm sure we will know when the time comes. So all the best to Alberto and his wife, Olya. And I hope that they have a blessed day. We're going to have a good one here tonight. I've got a little bit of everything lined up and hopefully some time for your calls. Jeff Harmon will be calling in for a brief 20-minute astro forecast in the second hour. So we have plenty of time to stretch out in the first, and I have lots to do. Quite a bit. And not only that, but I'm giving away all this shit over here. First prize tonight for the Super Chat raffle that we've been building up for all week. First of all, we have a 1953 print $2 bill, 1953 series $2 bill, a SpaceX mission patch, a free bag, a golden ticket of our wonderful main primary sponsors, Keto Brainz, which is I got all my Keto Brainz packed for our little getaway into New England. All the Keto Brainz packed. I got little packets, all that stuff. If you want those samples, let me know. We've got copper and we've got silver. That's the first prize. The second prize is another $2 bill, but it is a 250th anniversary right from the printing press over here, highlighting the U.S. Navy, and that's also going with copper and silver. But instead of the Keto Brainz, you're going to get a tube of Yes Cacao Wild Balls and a SpaceX mission patch. So we have two winners tonight because I hate when I only give away one prize. I feel bad for everybody else. So I'm going to give away two prizes and then feel bad for everybody else. That's it. So quite frankly, superchat.com, YouTube, Rumble, Gold Pills, all them, and that'll be that. All right. Oh, man. Other than that, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. And here's a preview of what I'm hoping to turn my street into next Saturday on July 4th. Take a look at it.
Oh, no.
That's in Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh. Alex, I want to get out of here. Oh my gosh.
Oh no. I hope everybody's okay. Oh yeah, it says no injuries were reported, and the people working at this particular fireworks stand are okay. Massive sparks went flying over northeast Oklahoma City. That is Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, when flames tore through a fireworks stand, sending colorful bursts of light and smoke into the air. Delightful streams of patriotic fire. That's my edit. I'm editorializing now. Residents in Broken Arrow said that they called 911 after hearing several loud booms and seeing the fireworks shooting in different directions. There's no word on what sparked the fire, but firefighters said that they were able to extinguish the flames within 20 minutes. Good for them. That's fantastic. I am going to be on the lookout along the way. There are several states. There's one or two states in New England that I think I might be able to sweeten the deal for my family. I'm just, I'm not going to do anything too crazy. I'm not going to do anything nuts, I swear to God. But I am going to ask all my buddies to send me some extra money through Venmo. I say, guys, $50 each. Come on, we have to do this right. Sparklers. I'm just going to get sparklers. Sparklers, a little something to sweeten the deal. And I hope that you all have a great week. Well, next week is going to be good. Next week is going to be a good week. We have good guests coming on. We have some time to get patriotic with things. I think we're going to have a good time. So let's do that. Now, last night when we ended the show, we went into the flip side, and I told you, this was pretty interesting. I told you we were going to watch a little bit of one of my favorite Mr. Rogers episodes. And I only have favorite Mr. Rogers episodes now because I've been exposing Aurora to it. And this is just one that I really love because he just went shopping in a grocery store. He needed to pick up some milk and some bananas and yogurt. And he went to this little place in Pennsylvania called Wagner's grocery store. And so I was showing everybody, and I just love it because I love watching people walk up and down the aisles of these old places. I love, freeze framing and peeking in on all of the old products, all the old branding and marketing, all the boxes and stuff like that. I love seeing what deals of the day were over there. Just the prices in general, if it wasn't on sale. And this particular episode was from April of 1984, so essentially exactly 1 year before I was born. And here's what we have. Here's what we had. Last night I said, okay, we watched that. We had our fun. We had some jokes and all that shit. And which you guys and gals really should just join us after the show because we get to do things we can't do anywhere. Copyright stuff, trademarked stuff. It's completely illegal. Flipside is illegal. All right. We ruin our lives for a half hour. You're missing out. The other night we learned how to make pina coladas. I didn't know that they were that easy. And I'm going to do that now. Every night when I go home, a gallon of pina colada every night. That's what I'm going to drink. This is what happens on the flip side. Anyway, I said, I wonder if Wagner's is still open, thinking 100% this thing has been destroyed by Costco and every other chain store in between. And wouldn't you know, it's not. It's not in the same location. But Wagner's Market, established in 1929, is still there. We found it. Not only that, and I went on their website and all that stuff. I have their contact information. I'm definitely going to be reaching out to them. It's not really going to be a very viral moment, but I have to talk to somebody from the Wagner family just about how life's been for the last time. I mean, they're going to be 100 years old in 3 years. 1929, Mr. Rogers fame from 1984. I mean, come on now. Anyway, they're still there. They're in Pennsylvania, in the Pittsburgh area, actually. And one of our listeners out there from last night said, this is 15 minutes from me. I'm going there tomorrow morning. And she did. Her name is Jessica. She wrote into me. She said, hi, Frank. So I took a little field trip over to Wagner's Market this morning before work, and it did not disappoint. Small family-owned market. The new location is in a one-story plaza shared with a barbershop, a dentist, apparently the greatest pizza in the Pittsburgh area, according to my coworker Matt, who lives about a quarter mile from there, and told me he stops there almost daily. Almost daily. There it is, the Middle Road Plaza, established 1985, the year I was born. See there? Middle Road Barbershop, go get your hair. Go get a fade. Go get a tape up. And then what's that? Messina's Pizzeria. Free delivery. Free delivery. So that's Middle Road Plaza out there in the Pittsburgh area. Jessica goes on to say, I think I found my new grocery store. I would rather support a smaller family business than a Costco or a big chain around here. They have a wall of history at the front of the store near the store office that includes pictures of Mr. Rogers. I have a picture of that over here. This is all from the flip side last night. They said that's their wall of history. I tried to act casual when I got there and refrained from skipping down the aisles with my shopping basket, took a bunch of pictures, never found the Donkey Kong cereal. We're going to get to that in just a second. Because we saw Donkey Kong cereal, we saw Pac-Man cereal. God only knows what kinds of horrendous ingredients were in that. Well, Jessica, just you wait. We're going to tackle that question in a moment. But once I got to the register, I had to tell the cashier lady about why I was there. She seemed to be getting a kick out of the whole story arc, so she paged the owner of the store intercom system, blah, blah, blah. I met Luke Wagner, who currently runs the business with his cousin. Fantastic guy. His grandfather originally started the business. Sidebar, the old Wagner's location is now a consignment store with about 5 different stores around the suburbs of Pittsburgh, and I already shop at and love their stores. Haven't been inside that particular one, but yeah. So I'm guessing either Joel or Wayne is Luke's dad. I think it was Joel and Wayne that was in the Mr. Rogers episode. He was super excited to hear that you had played that Mr. Rogers episode on your podcast and were hyping up their little store in Western Pennsylvania. Said his friends never believed him when he would tell them about Mr. Rogers' story, so he was constantly having to play the episode for them. So as I was leaving, he told me their homemade chicken salad is the best selling item, so naturally I grabbed 2 pounds of that. It was fantastic. I got to work, which is when I asked my coworker, who lives about a quarter mile away, if he'd ever been there, and that's when he said that he goes there almost every day. Let's see, it said a couple of years back when he turned 40, his buddy got him a t-shirt from Wagner's that said, "You can't beat Wagner's meat." I want that shirt. So that's my recon story for the day, and it was well worth the 15-minute drive. I'll definitely be going back. Would have spent more time checking things out, but I was already running late. You should definitely get them on the show. I told Luke that you mentioned calling the store, so he won't be completely shocked. Signed, Jessica. Coco Dumar in the chat room. So I better call them quick before it's out of whatever. I'll just call them up, say, hey, I'm a podcaster, and I'm also watching a lot of Mr. Rogers lately. Would you like to talk to me? I'd like to talk about your family history. Now, here's what I want to throw at you guys now. The Donkey Kong cereal is what we popped up. I didn't have time to go and grab the Pac-Man one, but I found this on eBay. Sometimes you can find people who actually have a preserved, unmolested box of something. Like everything's inside. You usually get somebody like LA Beast dropping $500 on an unopened box of Donkey Kong cereal and eating it and hoping that he doesn't throw up or something like that. But on eBay, I found somebody who was selling a Donkey Kong cereal box from 1983. This was about $400, I think. It's a Donkey Kong cereal box from 1983. There it is. Win a Donkey Kong arcade game instantly. Wow. Can you imagine that? Somebody out there won that arcade game. Full arcade game. Here's the back of it. Instant winner game. Win a full-size Donkey Kong arcade game with one of the 4 other fabulous prizes. 1 million prizes in all. See the panels for details. How fun. How absolutely fun. But here is something I was so happy that they included, and that was an ingredients list. That's an ingredients list. So I'm going to call up our good friend Jay Gulinello on the phone. I have to ask him this question. I told him I might be calling him.
Hello.
Hey, Jay, it's Frank.
Hey, Frank.
What's going on? I know I'm surprising you.
You know, it's funny. You don't really sound like Frank.
You bastard. You bastard. Yeah, well, I know. I get that a lot. It's either spot on or I sound like I'm coming out of a tin can or who the hell knows, right? Well, you sound the same. Hey, I have something for. So I told you that I had the cereal box and I wanted to give you a call. I have the ingredients over here of the Donkey Kong, but for time immemorial, it's probably one of those things where having a bowl of this cereal was not actually part of a complete breakfast. But you know what? You give it 40 years time, and I can't imagine that this is worse than what we have today. So I'm going to read you off the ingredients, and hopefully you have a little bit of a contrast to what is from the front of the box. It kind of looks, Donkey Kong cereal physically kind of looks like Captain Crunch, which is why I told you if you can find a box of Captain Crunch from 2026 so we can compare and contrast this. Let's see what we have. So here what we have in 1983. We've got corn flour, we've got sugar, oat flour, brown sugar, coconut oil, salt, sodium ascorbate. Is how you say that?
Yeah, ascorbate.
Ascorbate. That is vitamin C. Niacinamide. Reduced number 5. I guess that's coloring. I'm sorry. Reduced iron. Vitamin A. Palmitate.
Okay.
I've got FD&C yellow number 5. There's the coloring.
Yeah.
Pyridoxine. Hydrochloride. Vitamin B, riboflavin, artificial color, BHT, a preservative, thiamine, mononitrate.
Yeah, it's vitamin B1.
Okay, then they have vitamin B1, they have vitamin B12, and they have vitamin D in there. I gotta say, compared just visually, it looks like a very short list of stuff compared to what I see on average out there. So with that being said, and I don't know if you can actually see the box on the screen right now on the delay, what do we got with a 2026 box of Captain Crunch?
You're going to be shocked because I was.
Okay.
It's almost identical, Frank.
Really?
Yes. It's almost identical. Corn flour, sugar, oat flour, brown sugar, coconut oil, reduced iron, salt, yellow 5, yellow 6, niacinamide, BHT is a preservative, synthetic B vitamins. Yeah, it's almost exactly the same.
You know, it's crazy because you think that it wouldn't be the same for like Lucky Charms. Then maybe it's just because when I look at it, I said that kind of looks like Captain Crunch. I wonder if it's just really just the jacked formula for Captain Crunch, but they kept it for 40 years. That's the crazy part.
That's incredible. And so that cereal, I just did a quick look up for it. So that cereal only was made from like 1982 to 1984.
Okay.
So it's a very small run, and it actually quite often is referred to as like a early version of modern Captain Crunch or Captain Crunch.
Wow.
So that just goes to show you that cereal, especially in the modern times, was never really a health food. But here's the difference, though, that I think of and that I think you mentioned. It also was sort of back then unapologetically fun and sugary cereal for kids. Today, they want to try and, I don't know, gaslight or fool parents and kids into thinking that it's part of some kind of a healthy, balanced, nutritious nonsense breakfast, which, of course, it isn't. And it never was. Like, I don't know about you, Frank, but when I was a kid and I would badger my parents to buy like Count Chocula or something, right? We knew it was a treat. I mean, what was left over in the bowl when you were done was chocolate milk, for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we knew it was a treat. And when that box was done, your parents weren't going to let you have it every day. But now it almost seems like they're trying to convince you that stuff is like totally normal and natural and part of a healthy breakfast, I guess.
You know what? I'm actually just shocked that you didn't come at me with a longer list of things that are I can't believe that it's actually chemically similar to 40 years ago. That hasn't changed that much.
Well, when I was thinking about it briefly, and I looked at like the history of when a lot of things were added into the food supply, the problem is 1982, 1984 wasn't actually that long ago, and it was all post 1977 dietary guidelines.
Oh.
Now, I did a quick search, and if you go back further, so I kind of was like, well, when would cereal have maybe been actually healthy? You got to go back to like the late 1800s, like a cereal in where is it called? It was called Ranger Joe from 1939. That was a cereal that was basically just like puffed wheat, and some of it wasn't even sweetened until the 1950s. But that even goes to show you they started sweetening cereals in the 1950s, post World War II, I guess, because they wanted to start that marketing campaign. And if you think about high fructose corn syrup, that was introduced, I think, was invented in 1976 or something in Japan. So, the late 70s, early 80s, 90s, those may have seemed healthier because we think of older foods as healthier. But the truth is, a lot of the processing that was kind of baked into the food system by then. And it's only the claims around food that have really changed, but the actual formulas are really not that different.
Well, I thank you. I thank you for dropping in, and I have a box. I have a box of Ranger Joe on the screen right now, and there it is. Wow, life changes, but it doesn't. Well, Jay Gulanello, healthreclamationproject.com. Thank you for this little drop-in.
All right, Frank. Have a great show.
All right, take care. Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. I guess this is just the next chapter because I need to reach out. I need to reach out to Wagner's. Okay. There you have it. So, changing topics, here is something that I thought was interesting, and I did not know about that. I know about how crazy things are regulation-wise, the red tape and everything else in places like Europe, especially the UK, where you have to have a license to even own and operate a television. Lot of stuff. Forget about free speech. Forget about being able to defend yourself from roving gangs of, foreign nationals. But there's something else over here I saw, and I thought that this was one of those outrageous Instagram fake news bits. Like when I read that breaking news that Disney confirms that Woody is going to drop the N-word in Toy Story 5. That they're gonna find some kind of an appropriate context for Woody to say the N-word. I still love when I see stuff like that. I just thank you. I want to shake the hand of whoever made that, and because they brightened a lot of people's days. I don't see why that's funny. Well, go fuck yourself. Anyway, I thought that this was like some outrageous kind of bait. This is from France. Apparently, 40 people in France drowned recently. People in Paris flocked to the Canal Saint-Martin on Tuesday. The country averaged about 85.6 degrees Fahrenheit across 30 weather stations. The highest temperature reached was 112 degrees Fahrenheit in the southwestern village of Pissos. But the heat had turned deadly. French officials say that at least 40 people have drowned in the past 5 days, many of them teenagers swimming in unsupervised areas. 2 children also died after being left in a hot car. I don't know how this happens. I don't know how many of those people drowned were Africans, to be honest. I think a lot of people are wondering about that. It doesn't matter. People are dead. But still, 40 people, and apparently this is this is something real. I said, okay, well, let me find a secondary source. Well, how's the New York Times for you? 40 people drown in France amid scorching temperatures. At least 40 people have drowned over the last 5 days. Let's see. Martina Ferrari, a minister whose responsibility includes young people, says in an interview on French radio on Tuesday that the drownings were mostly in bodies of water like lakes or canals. During heat waves like this, it's no small matter to go swimming in areas that aren't supervised. So they were over 100 degrees over there. People started jumping in. They're drowning. I said, okay, that's a very high number of people. Why can't they swim? Where are they choosing to swim? This is incredible. 40 people in 5 days? That's like when I would wake up at, wake up in the morning during the summers at my grandmother's house and go, take the cover off the pool. And there would be like 5 squirrels there, drowned underneath the cover. Went under there for a drink, got trapped underneath. Like that was disturbing. 40 people. Then I looked into this and I said, how many Europeans die of heat stroke every year? Because then I started seeing a whole bunch of the comments were insane from people who were talking about how Europeans, the whole problem is that Europe, people don't have air conditioners. Said it's time for Europe to start believing in air conditioners. I don't understand how it's 2026 and Europe doesn't have air conditioning. Someone says, so you want to waste money on air conditioner? You only use 3 days out of the year? So go for it. Yeah, I'll put on an air conditioner for 3 days, pay $5, and not be so hot that I drive myself out of my home to go drown somewhere. A mass drowning. Like, yeah, I'm going to put the AC in. You got 3 days? Okay, good. That's worth it. I mean, and then I started realizing that it is a lot of the reasons why the energy costs are through the roof. And of course, there's a lot of regulations about air conditioning because, the energy grid is really not out there. They have such a hard time. More Europeans, they have such a hard time keeping the lights on, I guess. And I said to myself, okay, well, you got 40 people that died here in 5 days because they were so hot they went and drowned. How many Europeans die of heat stroke or heat-related death every year? This is going to shock you. And I got this from Joint Research Center.ec.europa.eu. An estimated 43,000 to 175,000 Europeans die from heat-related causes each year. While medically diagnosed heat stroke is the direct cause in some cases, the vast majority of those fatalities are classified as broader heat-related excess deaths where extreme temperature exacerbates pre-existing conditions like cardiovascular or respiratory diseases. The exact toll fluctuates heavily depending on summer temperature. 175,000 plus annual heat-related deaths. That is, according to UN News, the World Health Organization estimates that heat-related causes more than 175,000 deaths annually across the broader European region. And 43,000 attributable deaths from Washington Post. Long-term baselines models by European. That's way more than the flu. During record-breaking summers, these figures surge. Researchers recorded an estimated 61,600 heat-related deaths in the summer of 2022, nearly 48,000 in 23, and over 62,724, according to studies published in Nature Medicine. Southern Europe, particularly Italy, Greece, Spain, consistently experienced the highest heat-related mortality rates per capita, with the elderly and women being the most disproportionately affected demographics. Turn the goddamn air conditioners on. I can't believe that. I just can't believe that. Here's one comment. More Europeans die annually to heat stroke than Americans die due to gun violence. Americans aren't entitled, because somebody says, oh, Americans are entitled. They think they can just put the AC on whenever they want. They responded, Americans aren't entitled. We just don't want thousands of people to die every year because we won't produce our own energy. It's true. It's true. And not only that, because these are all the come on, we believe in you, Ukraine, getting it from Ukraine's opponent, Russia. I don't know if it's as much as they did prior to 2022, but geez, man, 170. It's true. If you take the top of that, 175,000, and you think about how European leftists cannot stop talking about the United States and how ass backwards our culture is, especially the culture of self-determination and being able to defend your life with lethal force, and how that is a right that is enshrined by our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, namely guns. That's all European leftists can talk about when you talk about America. It's like, oh, you say anything. Oh, don't you guys have mass shootings? 30,000 gun-related deaths in the U.S. I should say 30,000 deaths in which guns were the tool that was used. 2/3 of those, of course, are suicides. Very tragic. But if somebody has made that decision, then they're going to find a way of doing it, whether it's swallowing Ajax or base jumping, whatever the hell it is. And then the last 1/3 of that is mostly gang-related. And Europeans, they could save at least 4 to 5 times as many lives just by producing their own energy and not being dependent on Russia, turning on a damn air conditioner. That's crazy. That's insane. I was not prepared for the statistics that I found today on this. I really was not prepared for that at all. Perhaps I don't have the whole story, but I mean, this is insane. Truly is. Now, as far as perspective goes, because again, what I was talking about there is you have this stark reality about, maybe it's one economic or environmental. We have a lot of examples of bad environmental policies right here in the United States that lead to terrible brush fires and a lot of property damage, lives lost, people displaced, you name it. We have a lot of examples of that. And perhaps the continent of Europe is, and how they keep people cool in the summertime, that's another example of how this is just ridiculous. And lives lost. How much does a life actually cost? Especially when there's not a political payoff there. Just like it is to be constantly arguing for less and less reasons that a person, an adult, supposedly living in a free country, should be able to defend themselves with even a sharpened butter knife at this point. Meanwhile, they won't turn on the air conditioners when it's 110 degrees. But there's a whole other thing here too that I want to bring up, and again, it comes down to European tourist awakenings, people who are coming to the United States and actually being able to break the grip of how they've been propagandized their entire life about their cousins across the pond. And I wanted to play this one more another article. What is it? Who was she? Her name is Dream to Visa by Iona. I don't know. Anyway, she came here for the World Cup. Here's the caption for her video, then I'll play her statement. The media has been lying to you about America for years. The World Cup is accidentally exposing it to all of us. Millions of Europeans and Canadians who had never stepped foot in the U.S. finally showed up. And what did they find? They found friendly people, incredible energy, hospitality that they never expected, a culture nothing like what they were told, and that's exactly the problem. The media doesn't profit from you having a good experience. It profits from fear, division, and outrage. A Canadian family having the time of their life in Texas doesn't get clicks. A crime story does. So that's all you ever see. That's all you ever hear until slowly, without even realizing it, your entire worldview gets shaped by people who want you afraid. The World Cup didn't just bring football to America. It broke the most powerful propaganda machine in the world because people finally went and saw it for themselves. And not only that, they're sending messages back to their friends and their family. If there are a couple of million people here from all over the world, it's not just that it's staying in that. It's a sizable amount, but they are disseminating information. It's going back home. It's bucking all the trends and all the preconceived notions. You know, how many people came to the United States a couple of weeks ago in preparation for this tournament, and their friends and family in Europe were like, wear a bulletproof vest. How many of them told them that? I'm sure there's plenty of it. Just knee-jerk reaction. It comes from a place of just learned nonsense. Stop letting a screen decide what you think about the place. Go experience it for yourself. Now listen to what she says in her own words.
So many of you reached out after my last video that I had to say this one more time. The media has been lying to you about America, and the World Cup just proved it. For years, European and Canadians have been fed the same narrative. America is dangerous. Americans are ignorant. The culture is shallow. The food will kill you. And people believed it. Why? Because they saw it on the news. They read it online. They never actually went. Then the World Cup came, and millions of people who had never set foot in the US suddenly showed up. And you know what they found? Friendly people, incredible energy, stadiums that blew their minds, hospitality they didn't even expect. Video after video of Europeans and Canadians saying, I had no idea, I was completely wrong, this is nothing like what I was told. And that's exactly the problem. The media doesn't profit from you having a good experience. It profits from fear, division, outrage. A Canadian family having the time of their life in Texas doesn't get clicks, you know? A crime story does. So that's all you ever see. That's all you ever hear. And slowly, without even realizing it, your entire worldwide view gets shaped by people who want you to be afraid. And look, in my opinion, the World Cup didn't just bring football to America. It accidentally broke the most powerful propaganda machine in the world.
So, so there you go. Now, let's be fair, though, about the food thing. Most tourists, you come in here, they've been uploading videos from chain restaurants and the cereal aisle. You want to talk about the cereal aisle again? That's what it is. And yeah, it's not going to kill you in 2 weeks, but it'll slowly kill you. It will slowly kill you. You know, all those cereals, for example, are made with GMO grain that most of Europe has already banned. So, I mean, but yeah, it's not like you're going to come in here and you're going to have, you're going to show up in Philadelphia and have yourself a cheesesteak or have some proper barbecue down in Texas and drop dead. No, there's, I mean, just the way it is. You have to, and I'm sure that a lot of people had some really good experiences in places that have established higher standards of doing business. Everybody knows what's going on out there. There's a lot of restaurants that are starting to switch from, you know, certain types of seed oils back to tallow and all. They see what's going on. They're doing the research themselves. And it's a part of one of those big breakaway moments. It's a huge breakaway moment. But yeah, the World Cup, and I have not watched the match yet. I heard that the United States is doing well. I'll see what I can. I mean, maybe there will be a little bit of downtime over the weekend when we're away. If Aurora's taking a nap, if the U.S. is playing, I'll see what's going on there. But from a cultural standpoint, I'm totally fine with just the impact this has had on changing conversations. It doesn't even have to be a sport thing. It really doesn't. This is it's all about human interaction, and it's about bridging the gap and bringing people to our home. You know, it's one thing to bring an American abroad and to keep all those things intact and ask them, what's it like being from where you're from? I mean, you know, so I pray for you guys all the time over there. You know, I've had people tell me that they get those types of comments from cab drivers when they go to London, and they're just like, why? Oh, you know, like, you know, the guns and Donald Trump. Like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Just you gotta stop listening to liberals. You really do. They're disabled people. You have to tune them out until we figure out how to, you know, banish them to some kind of an island or something where they can't hurt anybody anymore. So there's that. But it's that's what I like it here. It's an inadvertent triggering of the grapes of wrath effect. If you don't know all about that, it's like where, you know, when John Steinbeck wrote the Grapes of Wrath, it's I haven't read it since high school, but it was really about, I remember it's like a Dust Bowl story where large corporate farms exploit desperate people and workers and all that stuff. And you know, this family moves out to California to try to find something else, and everybody's, you know, pretty much disaffected and displaced and looking for work and desperate and all that stuff. So the big themes are all about collective labor and solidarity and how big corporations can take advantage of little people who are struggling, especially in times of crisis. Which is why, of course, the Soviet Union, at least I thought, at least at first, thought that book and the movie adaptation was a suitable piece of American storytelling to allow to be shown behind the Iron Curtain, because, you know, Moscow saw it as an acceptable indictment of capitalism. And that was just I don't know if John Steinbeck was a full-on communist, but you know, most center-left people are communists without even knowing. You know what I mean? However, when the Soviet Union allowed this book movie adaptation to get behind their lines and Soviet audiences started watching the movie, they almost completely ignored, the audience did almost completely ignored the actual plight and the struggle of the main characters in the story, the Grapes of Wrath, and they kept getting fixated on the fact that even the poorest Americans in the story were able to own their own cars. This is a completely true story. And because of that, and of course they were able to travel freely to boot, past state lines all over the country. They had a car, they could travel, they didn't have to tell anybody where they were going. Those were the things that Soviet audiences noticed. Meanwhile, the government allowed it to happen because they thought that the narrative was going to stay in place, because this story was an indictment of how big corporations can take advantage of little people. And then, of course, you know, when they see the cars and they see the free travel, which were massive luxuries behind the Iron Curtain in the Soviet Union, very shortly after that, it was banned across Eastern Europe. Pull the plug, get this thing out of here. So what we have seen in the last couple of weeks, even if you haven't watched the games, is a cracking of similar veneers, I believe. And I like that. I really love that. I don't know how you can see that as a bad thing. But, you know, sometimes people just don't change their minds, as we were talking about last night. See how these things kind of tie together? Sometimes they don't change their minds because they're persuaded. They change their minds because reality gets a chance to speak for itself. And, you know, personal experience really can be unbiased in many ways. It has an interesting way of disarming you and making you put down your preconceived notions about one thing or another. So that's what I got over there. But yeah, here's one more. Here's one more for you. That guy Freddie from Germany driving through Ohio. Here's another one. Driving through Ohio. See American flags. Nice little Ohio town. I don't know where he is. Maybe some of you who are out there in Ohio would know. And he says, towns like this are why we are trying to avoid interstates while they're here in the United States and take slower roads instead. These are the kinds of places we want to see. This feels like peak America, and it is. It is. There are so many places like that in New York, and those are the places I want to be. Those are the places I want to be. And of course, breaking news, some sourpuss Canadian fruitcake is shocked that people prefer the serenity and the character of small towns and villages over the incoherent chaos of giant beehive cities. LLC from BC, who has pronouns in his profile, says, I'm generally not a conspiratorial person, says pronoun person, but I can't even blame anyone for thinking that this is a psyop anymore. European tourist discovers that rural Ohio was peak America all along is something totally out of a MAGA fantasy. It's just fucking reality. It's just reality. I understand why cities start, and we have great American cities. New York is a beautiful American city that is just having a really historically bad time right now, and it's heading into darkness. Same thing for Los Angeles. Same thing for I mean, you just think about Chicago and Detroit. These are incredible American cities. Incredible. And they are incoherent hellholes right now. And this is, I don't see how anybody can do again, this is just a liberal projection. This is John C. Reilly. This is kindergarten level logic about how people see the world and what is good and what is peak America. What's peak America to LLC from BC? Some pronoun person from Canada. What the hell will they even know anyway? No, it has to be a big city with a pride parade going right down the middle of it. Somebody in nipple pasties doing a somersault. Yeah. You know, this is why I love it. I love it. That fades away. It fades away. It sounds even more rambling and stupid. Really, really stupid. Now, one more thing I want to do on this, because you want to talk about the waking up effect and about reality being challenged just by experience, the accidental reality of things. Jeremy Clarkson, I don't know if anybody out there has ever watched Clarkson's Farm on Amazon Prime. I started watching it. Jimmy Corsetti, Bright Insight, he suggested it to me once. And I went and I started watching it with Lauren, and it's Jeremy Clarkson. He's a British media figure, very, very popular, funny guy, loves cars and all that stuff. But he started this show. He bought farmland out in the UK and he became a farmer some years ago. And he started this show called Clarkson's Farm. And it is really great. It is a funny, interesting, not stressful at all. It is a really great show. Just my personal opinion. It's a nice, stress-free watch. Lauren and I have enjoyed it greatly. We're not completely up to date on it, but we saw at least the first 3 seasons. At least the first 2 seasons. I forget where we are. Anyway, I also just saw that Jeremy Clarkson made an announcement that he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and it was found early. And I hope that he's well. But when you watch Clarkson Farm, the one thing that you cannot help but take note of is how the government makes it exceedingly hard for people, especially small farms, family-owned farms, to just survive. Forget about make a profit and leave something behind and be able to make enough so that your property isn't seized through taxation after you die or something else like that. And here's Jeremy Clarkson, who's got the money to bankroll himself through any kind of government chokehold that they put on him. But the fact that he has been able to put it out there on his show is something else. And this guy, Morgan Barrett, talked about how Clarkson's Farm, the show on Amazon, is the most radicalizing piece of mainstream media I've ever seen. I don't know if he's from the UK or not. He says VC, lawyer, venture capital, I guess, angel investing, running tech. Can you send me some money? Running tech breakfast club in New York City, San Francisco, and El Segundo. Anyway, this is what he said. And I really suggest you go and watch Clarkson's Farm if you haven't. It's really a good watch. Jeremy Clarkson's Farm show on Amazon is the most radicalizing piece of mainstream media I've ever seen. Just one example, bear with me. Badgers become a protected species in Britain 40 plus years ago. The population has now exploded and now frequently transmits tuberculosis to cows. But farmers can't cull the badger population to protect their cattle because the government still considers them to be endangered. Instead of addressing the root cause, the UK has the most batshit testing regime for cattle. There's no tuberculosis vaccine, so the cattle have to get tested. The vets administering the test have to measure welts on the cow's neck, Whether a cow lives or dies comes down to a vet trying to discern 1 millimeter on a caliper, reactive versus non-reactive. If a cow tests positive, the farm, already running on super thin margins, is quarantined and starts hemorrhaging money. Jeremy Clarkson's cow, which is pregnant with twins, has an inconclusive test, so it's separated from the herd. It receives a second inconclusive test, so they have to kill it. 2 inconclusive tests, you have to kill it before it can give birth to the twins. Now here's the kicker. The autopsy reveals no sign of tuberculosis. It was a healthy cow needlessly killed. So, silver lining, the farm should be removed from quarantine, right? Wrong. It's still under quarantine and has to keep testing and can't sell its beef. It's Kafkaesque, doesn't even begin to describe how effed up it is for British farmers. No, you have no clue how effed up it is. And you got to watch this. He tries, and obviously, there's probably people trying in vain all around him who don't have television shows that are trying to find ways to bring their products to market, to just be able to make ends meet. And here he is trying to set up almost like a farmhouse on his own land to bring people in to sell his own products. A whole bunch of red tape there. He can't do it. So he tries to turn it into a restaurant. Whole bunch of red tape. Every time he does something that is successful, he tries it, somebody either in local government or the national government comes in and threatens to sue him, take his land. It is insane. It's insane. And, you can say, well, Frank, I guess every day there's more confirmation of how effed up things are. Whether you can turn on an air conditioner legally in France or not, or whether you can grow mushrooms on your property in the UK and sell it legally at a farmer's market without being hung, as a traitor or something like that, killing all your livestock because of an inconclusive test. It's crazy. How much more wood do we have to add to the fire to realize, yes, things are bad. When is it going to change? Hell, I don't know. A lot of things are changing right now. I think people's mindsets are changing. Hearts and minds are changing. I think that's what we've been documenting the most the last few weeks. Say that's not enough? Well, it's the first thing that has to happen before something physical does happen. And that's not to say that whatever does happen is going to be legislation. We are a industrious people, but we are also an incredibly revolutionary people too. And to look at Europe from an American perspective and find us to be entirely disconnected from that mindset and what built Europe built the United States. All right? They want us feeling like we're two separate species. We're not. We haven't been. And until we start realizing that, it's so much of it is who is in power, who is in our respective governments. Those are the people who have to be dealt with. It's going to get harder and harder because they're so we're talking about New York and the Mamdani kind of mindset out there. That is so much more beyond who's living at Gracie Mansion. So much beyond. It's so far beyond that. And it's so far beyond the state lines of New York. It's in all of your states. It's not too far from where you are. It's not. Okay? I know Manhattan's an island, but it's not like nobody can leave it. People come and go. And it's crazy. And same thing with the UK. Same thing with the UK. And definitely go and watch Clarkson's farm. So, there you have it. All right, let's get to your super chats. Let me get to your super chats real quick. And hold on a second. Did I do... Yeah, I did. Okay. Real quick. And then we're going to open up the lines because we're going to bring Jeff Harmon on in about 20 minutes at 8:15. It's 7:54 right now. I'm going to open up the lines, 914-200-0269. What do you think? What came up for you over the last hour? I want to hear it. Ninvet says flyover country is the best. Yeah, well, I want to drive through flyover country. In fact, let me put this up over here so I can put Ninvet in the in the running for tonight's giveaways. Okay, Ninvet. Thank you. Joe Martinez. Should I even put Joe in there? Yeah, I'm going to. And if he wins, then ain't that some shit. Let's see here. Jane Ruddle says, love you, Frank and family. Thank you so much, Jane. Spicy Chemist says, hello, everyone. Just resubscribed to Quite Frankly on Twitch for 6 months through Amazon Prime. That's what I'm seeing over here, through Prime. I guess that means Amazon. Spicy Chemist. How can I not put a 6-month subscription into there? Let's take a call from 719. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank. I was just calling to say it's so refreshing to hear you go through all that with all the small town living and how people are escaping, but it's kind of two sides of the coin. That's kind of why I bailed out of Colorado. They took over my nice little small mountain town and just so upscale, and you can't even afford to live there anymore. So I moved to rural Missouri, and now it's happening there. And at the same time, it's nice to see people recognizing that. It's rough seeing all these. I guess it's the city people don't realize a lot of times when they come out to the country, they are far left, even if you're super right in the city, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there is that Overton window. It's not, you can't even be broad stroked with that. It's not like the Overton window in America. I guess you can average things out, but wherever you come from, whatever you're used to. I mean, for example, put it to you this way. I'm sure that there are plenty of conservative people who consider themselves conservative in my neck of the woods over here, who would and it's not just leaving the state, who would move to another town. Maybe it's just a town in the state of New York or right next door in Greenwich, Connecticut, that has no DPW service, that is coming to pick up your garbage every Monday and Thursday mornings with the garbage truck. That is part of your local taxes. That's something that you can get used to over time. Then all of a sudden you go to a new town and you realize, oh, wow, that was really convenient when I had the garbage truck show up. Now I got to bring my garbage to the local dump myself. And then all of a sudden one day a local referendum pops up, and that might be a conservative vote for a new DPW program to be started, so that everybody can be taxed just a little bit for the garbage to be picked up, instead of conserving something in that town that had been in place for however many years. That's how the local culture can make somebody act in a way that is outside of the bounds of where they're living now. So just a small example of how that conservative can actually come in and make a place a little bit more left-leaning without even knowing it.
Yeah, oh yeah, yep. You say it a lot better than I can. Yep, you're absolutely right. It's just getting frustrating. I escaped out there close to 15 years ago now, and bought land for a good price, and now it's like 10,000 an acre, and I'm grateful to have my farm. But you can never do it again now.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's why I get with the Gen Alpha. They're just those poor guys. I have kids that age, and they're just no hope.
Well, you bring a good point to the table. I thank you for the call, my friend.
No, thanks, Frank. Love you, man. Have a good night.
Absolutely. I'll see you next week. Let's take a call. 306, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Frank. It's Del.
Hey, what's going on?
I just wanted to, not much. Just wanted to add to that food comment that we were talking about earlier. Sorry, I didn't want to put you in the background there. Yeah, when I drove through the States, I drove through the whole north end from Alberta, all the way to Newfoundland. So we drive through several states on the north end, and just the difference in food, like when you eat clean, so when you come up to Canada, let's say you're going to Denny's and you're going to go to the buffet, you get your scrambled eggs, you get your sausages, you get all that. But when we went through the States, there was already butter added to the scrambled eggs. There was already brown sugar added to the oatmeal.
Mm-hmm.
There was already butter on the toast. It was weird to see the difference. So I just wanted to add that in there. And even to this day, I went down in 2023. I went to Montana. Even with McDonald's, there's more cheese in the burritos. There's more sauce on the burgers. So there is a big difference between down there and up there. So when you talk about food differences, it definitely is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know some of those Europeans updated from inside of like Cracker Barrels and stuff. I have found, I'm sure that there's some bad Cracker Barrel locations out there where the people that work there are just, I don't know how it's possible. I feel like they attract only the best people on earth. But I'm sure something like that. I'd say, well, they probably had a good experience at Cracker Barrel. It's a Cracker Barrel. I never had a bad experience there. I mean, I've even had a good experience at Waffle House, despite all of the late night brawling and CeeLo games that go on over there. But yeah, I get what you're saying, that even in even chain franchise restaurants and all that other stuff can be impacted negatively and in great positive ways too, just based on local culture. And you still see people going through drive-throughs at McDonald's in certain parts of the country where, I mean, it's a whole bunch of local high school kids and everybody very polite with each other and doing it doesn't seem like so rough and tumble than it does in other parts of the places where McDonald's can be it could be an inarticulate mess, and everybody's actually just perky and having a good time and polite and accommodating. It's almost like you're going to like somebody, a small little restaurant, but it's McDonald's. You just inject that into any kind of region, and I guess that the culture really does the rest.
And I would like to add that as well, because I've been to a few states. The friendliness, the especially when I went to Texas, I've never felt safer in my life, and everyone in the hotel was open carrying. But back when I went, it's not fair, honestly, the propaganda that they're putting out about the United States. You're almost terrified to go. But whenever I've gone, I've met friendlier people. I almost didn't want to come home, because I just wanted to say that I've never met more friendlier, more courteous people. And I just wanted to put that out there. I just absolutely love Americans, and I think it's unfortunate that that's out there, and I do combat it when I come across it. So, yes, you're absolutely correct in that there's a lot to be told about America still, and it'll come out.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, and thank you so much for the call. I really do. Yeah. Let's take a call. 504, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, sweetie, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to let you know that I noticed on that box of cereal that it was made by Purina.
Oh.
And they make a lot of pet food. And, I buy cat and dog food made by Purina. And I just thought it was kind of odd that Purina made the cereal box, the cereal that you showed. Okay. I wanted to point that out.
I did not even notice Purina. So yeah, I know Purina dog food. So donkey
under the ingredients, it said Purina.
Okay. Hold on. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, thank you for that. I have something else over here too. I just found this. It's a Donkey Kong cereal commercial from 1983. Let's see if it says anything about Purina in there.
Crunchy barrels of fun for breakfast. Donkey Kong cereal.
Help! Help! Donkey Kong brand cereal has a sweet, crunchy corn taste. And boy, is it fun to crunch. It's part of this complete breakfast.
Kids, you want to help?
Part of this complete breakfast. You heard that, right?
Get Donkey Kong, give me a crunch. One more. Donkey Kong cereal. Crunchy barrels of fun for breakfast.
Hold on, let's see there. Oh wait, that's Purina, right? Isn't that red and yellow checkered box over there? That's Purina, no? Barrels of fun for breakfast. And it looks exactly like Captain Crunch. Exactly like Captain Crunch. Probably it's probably just Captain Crunch. Yeah, I think that was the Purina logo. I think it was. Let's take a call. Go ahead, you're on the air, caller.
Frank, it's Icebox from Pilled. How you doing tonight?
Oh, it's doing well. It's good to have you on. Go ahead, Icebox.
Hey, I just wanted to say, if you guys are feeding your animals Purina, do not do it. I live just down the street from Purina factory. Whatever the hell is coming out of that shit is terrible. It smells like dog crap.
Jeez.
Just had to say that.
So you live? Was that like the main factory or something that you live by?
Yep. Yeah, it's across the river. I'm on the Illinois side of the Mississippi, and they make it on the Iowa, and it wafts over here, and it smells horrible. It's one of the main factors why people do not like living in Davenport, down by the river.
And that is so is that plant where they mainly make kibble, or do they have other like wet foods as well?
I'm not entirely sure. I knew a guy that worked there, but I don't know. He didn't seem to have a problem with the smell, but I know everybody else does.
All right. Well, there we go. This is Icebox, everybody, from Pilled, and he lives near the Purina plant, and he says that the kibble smells like absolute shit. It shouldn't.
Hey, take it easy, bud.
Okay, take care. It shouldn't smell like dog shit. It shouldn't smell like that. That's the end product. That's what happens after you eat the kibble. You get the shit. Let's go to Pilled real quick so I can get up on this before Jeff Harmon comes on. Tomcat 76, I put you in before. I got through a lot of this list already. Silly Boar, Corey J, Esther G says enjoy Latoya Jackson, Frank. Enjoy time with family. Thank you. Tommy Jekyll, thank you. Dewdrop 866 says brief drop in to give a cookie and good vibes. Odd Lighting says your lighting acting odd today. Welcome to my world, my favorite show. Odd Lighting. Safety Net says love bomb. Tommy J, a gallon of pina colada every night? Geez. Miss a couple of nights and the neighborhood has gone to hell. I haven't tried it yet. By next week, I'll be having nightly pina coladas, though. Tommy Jekyll, 1983. Yum. I got to be honest. If you can get me a fresh box of the... Now I'm thinking about Captain Crunch, to be honest. I know somebody had to have made a comment about cutting the roof of your mouth. Captain Crunch, nobody offended the roof of your mouth like Captain Crunch did. But I used to love putting just like straight. We don't have milk in the house. Everything is half and half. Everything is half and half. If I did have a bowl of cereal, like every once in a while, Lauren will get a box of those organic Honey O's. Organic Honey O's, not Cheerios. Every once in a while she'll get that. And I've had a couple of bowls of that in the past. So good. Especially since I only use half and half for things. I started using half and half for everything that once required milk after I started taking the NSP protein shake. Because it said that there's less sugar in the half and half. It's a higher fat content to go with that instead. So I said, okay, give me a reason to have something that's creamy and delicious. I'll put this in everything. And by the way, everybody, just please remember, over the course of the weekend, I'll be updating from the road. But next week is the last couple of episodes of June, and that means that KetoBrainz.com. Go to KetoBrainz.com. I'm on this entire thing now. The BPC 157, this is everything you stand to win. If you go and you buy anything on that website and use promo code June for 15% off, you get into this raffle. So just by supporting this show through getting in on this wonderful brain nutrition with this awesome nootropic stack that we have at Keto Brainz and just sending in super chats, you're constantly being put into raffles, giving things away just to say thank you, to get people involved. It's helping out a lot, and your body is going to love you for this. The nattokinase is up on KetoBrainz.com. You can go back to that episode that me and Jay and Molly were talking about with the nattokinase and breaking up clots and blood pressure regulation and all that stuff. I've been taking 3 of those every night. I got the 120 capsule bottle. Been taking 3 of those every night on an empty stomach going to bed. The BPC, of course, I can't live without the Keto Brainz. I'm bringing that with me to New England. But go to KetoBrainz.com and get something in for the weekend, because we're going to be drawing for that next week. But yeah, that's all I got to say on that. Icebox says the Jewish people want me to win the $2 bill. That's how you win the raffle, right? Yes. Ask Deansy. All you have to do is make some kind of a comment about Jewish people or some kind of a Jewish phrase, and usually you have some kind of strange magical ability to win. If Icebox wins tonight, that'll be very strange. Silly Boar says, happy Hanukkah. Shit. I don't know. I don't know how much magic can work for everybody. Who cast the strongest spell is the question. Tommy Jekyll says, here's a couple of more bucks, Frank. Thank you. Texas Hop has succeeded in convincing me I'm heat, humidity, and hurricane and flooded nearly to death. Can't take it with me. Can't take it with me. Go on without me. I don't. Well, just stay with us, whatever you do. Vesper, have a wonderful time up north with your family, Frank. Let me get Vesper in there one more time. Icebox. These things change when people change. Fuck the politicians. Tommy Jekyll, speaking of changing minds and attitudes, anyone seen the Citizen something? The Army Hammer, the Citizen Vigilante? I started seeing scenes from the Army Hammer video that everybody's getting upset about, that he's going on a mission to take out migrants who were committing atrocities and all that other stuff. And I can see how this is going to be very cathartic for a lot of people. And yeah, anyway, I'm just going to put that out there. I'm going to have to watch it, though. I definitely will. Revolution says, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch Clarkson Farm. I can already feel the rage boiling up inside of me listening to you describe what this poor gentleman goes through. Chuck, I'm telling you, you'll roll your eyes. You'll slap your knee from time to time going, you got to be kidding me. But it's an interesting show. You learn a lot. The characters are wonderful. Jeremy Clarkson is so affable, logical, and funny. I'm telling you, it levels out all the other. It's going to give you something to bond with your British cousins over, brothers and sisters, I should say, estranged brothers and sisters. We got to get the family back together. We get Rev in there, and Nathan W says, I can half and half. Fitty. There you go. Thank you so much, Nathan W. Love you, Nathan. Be well. All right. That's all I have. Let's get on to something else, because now we have our wonderful friend Jeff Harmon coming on. Let me see where we have him. Over here. Start. Good. Now, I have some stuff that he did with us back in February. I wanted to see how we stack up, what was going on. Turn off this open air. Oh, there you go. Open lines is done. So let me go into February 4th, 2026. That's the episode titled The Year of Vindication. That was Jeff Harmon's first appearance this year. Today will be his second. And we were talking a little bit about Venezuela that day. Let me see what else we have here. I have all the notes. 2026 is a year of vindication. He framed the year as one of the major revelations, accountability, truth coming to light, especially around hidden networks, elite scandals, and systemic deceptions. His ties into ongoing... Jeff was tying this into ongoing exposures. At that time, Jeff and I were talking about the Epstein files and broader cosmic shifts toward justice and rearrangement of power structures. That's what he was previewing back in February. He referenced major rearrangements in the Western Hemisphere and beyond that, and that began in late 2025 and accelerated into 2026. That is, for example, early year tensions involving Venezuela, the Greenland discussions, and shifting alliances, and then to expect continued rebuilding and redrawing of global arrangements. And he went on in February to talk about broader astro forecasting. The conversation highlighted 2026 as a pivotal year of America's 250th anniversary, with celestial patterns supporting exposure, high strangeness. Of course, we got the UFO thing that's going nuts right now. And positive shifts among the chaos. Now, I got to say, regardless of who you are, who you're following for analysis, the Iran war popped off a mere 3 weeks after his last appearance. There are more Promethean kind of takes on how this complete power shakeup in Iran may be for the better. Others look at the war as nothing but a costly gamble that only benefits the greater Israel project. And to that end, no matter which direction you're being taken on the whole Middle Eastern war and what comes afterwards, there is almost universal revulsion now for the nation state of Israel, which is a major change across party lines and everything. That's pretty insane. You ever think that you'd be seeing this so almost unanimously? We have British and Irish men. They've had enough of the migrant violence out there. You've seen the EU Parliament has actually drafted moderate right legislation about migrant removal. South America is starting to clean itself up ever since the USAID money stopped flowing down there. All of a sudden, there's a rash of moderate right-wing elections out there. People want law and order restored and all that stuff. We even had this new Fed chairman that had something interesting to say the other day about stepping out of the way of the real economy and taking speculation about what the central bank is going to do with interest rates and everything else like that out of economic decisions that people are making, businessmen are making. Listen, is it perfect right now? No, but it's not all bad. And there is certainly a lot of shaking up that's going on. And as far as all the woo-woo craziness in the skies, we've got Disclosure Day movie, we got all the other stuff, and now we have Jeff Harmon, who is a second-generation master astrologer, a spiritual researcher with over 50 years of experience in ancient Vedic and classical astrology. He's also a paranormal investigator and host of Astrology Today, who returns for an Independence Day astro forecast. Welcome back to the show, Jeff.
Hey, bud. Thanks for having me back.
It's great to have you back. Great to see you. How's everything been?
I've been all right. I've been busy. Been really busy, but it's good. It's been a good busy. I like it.
Well, you heard a little bit about, I did a little bit of a recap of everything that's happened since February 4th, and it's been a lot. Things going on.
It's been a blur.
So
it's been a blur.
Let's talk about geopolitically and the 4th of July, 250th Independence Day forecast you have. And then I want to ask you specifically about UFO disclosure, Hollywood, the media, everybody getting in on this one now and bringing it up to a fever pitch. That'll be the second thing we can talk about.
Yeah. Well, everybody's talking about this Mars-Uranus conjunction that's going to happen on July 3rd. And of course, we got a full moon with Mercury going retrograde right at the end of this month on the 29th. That's very powerful. But the big picture, if we take it up to 100,000 feet and we look down, the big picture, I think this is very positive. There is going to be, I think, a lot more stuff coming loose on elections, even though everybody's rolling their eyes and say, yeah, we've been hearing that for 4 or 5 years. I think it's coming. I think Todd Blanche, I think what Tulsi Gabbard did when she walked out the door, she just threw a bushel basket of information on the floor for everybody to pick up and look at. And this, I think, is going to have profound effects. Even Gavin Newsom and his wife right now are running in front of the FBI as they're being investigated. And a lot of stuff's coming loose here. And also, there's been some prosecutions out here that might unravel the ball of yarn that is behind these crazy election fraud schemes. And I think California is the seeding ground for that one. But this is a time, I think we have one of the most profound times coming up, starting this July, that we've seen since the 60s. And the reason why, back in the 1960s, if everybody remembers that, all kinds of revolution was happening, race wars, there was the Vietnam War, of course, JFK, MLK, all these things had precipitated that really changed society. Music, film, everything was really changing. Society as a whole basically had a change grenade thrown into it. Well, we've got the same thing coming up starting this July, except it's different. It's actually quite profound. I think it is, when it's all done and said, over the next couple of years, we're going to see transformations that we haven't seen, even more greater than since the 60s. And why? Because we have a Uranus trining Pluto. Uranus is always the time of collective change. It's literally like a change grenade. And when it trines Pluto, it brings very positive, unique transformations. And again, this isn't the 60s anymore. We got AI, we got information that's coming out so broadly. I mean, the internet and these podcasts like you're hosting, bring so much information to people. And it's such a good thing because people can now jump around and listen to whatever they want to, uncensored, and they can make their own opinions. And there's an old saying, if you hear somebody say something that's similar a few times, there's probably some truth to it, And so I like where it's going. I really do, even though, it's going to be a little roller coaster ride. I don't think this thing with Iran is just Iran. I've been mentioning this. In fact, I just did a podcast a few minutes before I got on with you today. And I think what's happening, see, Iran, ancient Babylonia was right over in that same area. You're talking Iraq, Iran. Well, Iran was Persia for thousands of years. World War I, which is a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, was the whole redrawing of the lines. Of course, they made a movie, Lawrence of Arabia, out of it. But that's when the bankers really instituted the Federal Reserve, which isn't any more federal than Federal Express. And we saw a real regime change in the entire Western worlds. And Iran was a central point because they knew that not only did the Strait of Hormuz regulate and control all this stuff, they were regulating and controlling the whole Middle Eastern energy systems. And of course, the currency is really tied up in there. I find it very fascinating if you're negotiating a deal with Iran that you go to where the bankers all reside in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So isn't that an interesting one?
It
to me, something is going on here much, much bigger. And that's what the astrology shows than just this Iranian situation. And I'll make a prediction. I think the United States is probably using exceedingly advanced weaponry there. And we're probably going to end up controlling the Strait of Hormuz ultimately, because Trump is being very strange and kind of coy about this whole negotiation situation. And I think that's because so much more is going on that really can't be disclosed. The old guard is changing and the new one's coming in.
I wonder, and I think a lot of people have all their beliefs and hopes are really on a spectrum that it covers everything from this is just completely foobar to like you're saying that we really are knocking on the door, about to cross through a threshold of what will be a real new good golden age that has been built. But there's been so much mixed messaging. It has caused people like me to take note of the headlines, seeing where we are from day to day with all the negotiations. That's bombing one day, ceasefire the next. There has been biblical religious overtones to the reasons why we were in there fighting that have all completely ceased. All of a sudden now, there has been, talks about regime change and also social change and wanting to spur different types of social revolutions out there. That has stopped. It has become a little bit more practical, a little bit more economics based. We've heard all types of things, and it's
all kinds of stuff.
I don't know if I don't know how much of it has been just been just obfuscation and has been just there to red herring us into one place or another. I don't know, but it's very hard for people to make sense of what the hell's going on. So we just speculate, and I don't know. People are split on whether or not this is going to end well or is just going to be awful.
I think it's going to end in a way where the United States and the sovereignty of nations is much more in play. I mean, when you look at what happened in 2020 forward, I was just talking about that. It was an attempt to bankrupt the entire Western civilization, and it was. And they wanted to destroy 3/4 of the human beings and put in AI, and that was their goal. And it's still in play. I mean, when you look at what's happening, it's clearly the desire of the ruling elite class. And I think we're seeing profound changes here. And yeah, everyone's speculating. The only thing I go by is interrogation. Interrogation astrology is probably one of the oldest types of astrology. And it's takes your opinion out of it. You cast a chart and you look at it and you literally can divinationally see whether or not something will come to fruition. And as long as you're not emotionally engaged in the actual issue itself, which, in a global issue, we all are, but I get overall, this is going to be very positive. It's going to release the chains. You know, I mention a lot about a book called The Great Taking. It was written by David Webb. People can go to the internet and find that book. It's downloadable. I still think it's free. He was a hedge fund operator in the 90s. He was very good friends with George Soros. And he said Soros used to tell him, you have no idea how powerful these guys are at the top of the pyramid. This is George Soros saying that. You know, a lot of people think Soros is the cause of all it. No, he's not. He's a spoke in the wheel. When you really look at all of the other conglomerates, this is really a lot bigger than we know. And I think it may be a lot more like Men in Black than we know. And there's some demonics in there as well. You know, and you were mentioning about disclosure. I think that ties into this. You can see how deep the web of control is. It's been ordered to release all these secret, top secret, and classified files. And everyone's resisting. In the intelligence agencies, they're resisting. They're not doing it fully. They're not complying. Why would they do that? Because I think if everything was revealed, we'd probably flip our cookies at how crazy it really is. I mean, there's so many crafts coming in and out of here. And I think they've been here for thousands of years. I don't think it's anything new. I don't think they're extraterrestrials. Some are, but I think a lot of them are terrestrials. And they've been inhabiting this planet for a mighty long time. And they've kept it secret from us. And I think they infiltrate society as we know it, and we don't even know they're there. I know I've actually seen people shapeshift, and it's quite disconcerting. But
we're gonna have to talk about that in just a second. We have to. I need to know about your shapeshifting experience, number one. But before we
it's
get
been a few times actually.
Well, so before we get it, because I really just dive into the disclosure topic, because that has to deal with a whole other kind of shakeup or a paradigm breaking, not just a shifting there. So the question I got for you before we get away from geopolitics altogether is, if things are going, if the questions of national sovereignty are going to be reaffirmed, and that the United States is going to come out on top of negotiations in a way that sets us up for a really nicely well-balanced new kind of, dare I say, new order in the world, or new world order. But there's one thing that is really becoming a stick in the spokes, and that is the state of Israel. Not, I mean, let's just talk about the last couple of weeks alone. Obviously, it was an intent. This war is something that the government in Israel, the Mossad, have wanted this for a very long time. And it's not just about nuclear disarmament or non-proliferation or any of that. They wanted Iran flattened. They wanted it destroyed. And they obviously have greater expansionist ideas about where they want their country to be there too, with their occupations in Lebanon and elsewhere. We've seen all the white papers. We've heard about it. But with this negotiation process in particular, there have been a couple of things that we were waiting to see how it all turns out. Trump insists that part of this deal with Iran would be impervious to anything that Israel might do in Lebanon in their pursuits to go after Hezbollah, as they say they're doing. Iran insists that no, if Israel keeps bombing Lebanon, it's going to affect this deal. And Israel keeps saying, we're going to keep bombing in Lebanon. So there is a dog that has a bone in its mouth that is not letting go out there in Israel, and that could be a very big negotiation, a hurdle. So how do you see them? Have you pulled a chart on them as a nation? Because I really think that they are on a really dangerous path. And I
when
think,
you say them, you mean Israel or Iran?
Israel.
No, I really haven't looked at Israel, and I should do that. That's a great point. I will take a look at Israel's actual formation, which was back again in the 40s, and look at that. From what I've seen, I actually think that Iran, as far as Iran goes, that it's going to keep fractioning and keep spiraling down. I don't think they have a leg to stand on, and China's not going to come in there, and Russia's not going to come in there and mess with this. There's no way. And as far as Israel goes, I can't comment on that right now, but that's something I'll take a look at. I could actually do that right now if you hang on. I can just do a quickie car wash.
Yeah, because
chart
and
here
then
and see
while you're looking at it, I'll just give you a couple of reasons why. I've talked about it on this show before. I think that people who and I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of people who would agree with me on this, that even just from a shallow viewpoint of people who are out in the world in very public ways that are representing so-called Jewish interests around the world, they actually go to great lengths to make things more dangerous for Jewish people, especially those who are living in Israel. And I almost feel like there is a certain kind of unspoken death wish that is baked into their foreign policy in a way to trigger some kind of a mass sacrifice. It's just something because there's no sense to how any of this stuff plays out in Europe, in the Middle East, anywhere else. I have to come up with my own theories, and I hate to be so Armageddon-like about it, but that's just what I feel. So I wonder.
Well, I mean, that's actually, there's been many Nostradamus, Armageddon, and Revelations. All seems to point towards the Middle East and Israel. No question about that. Everyone who's ever looked in a psychic sense always sees the Middle East as where it would flare out from. I get it this time, though. If I'm reading this chart right, that's not going to happen now. If I had $1 for every time someone said the world was ending, LA was falling, California was going to fall in the ocean, or the end of the world, World War III was going to happen, I'd be very wealthy. But this chart tends to lean towards there's divine intervention here. And, on that whole issue of Israel, there's a lot of deep, dark stuff that's blended in there with, I think, a segregation here of things that are influencing Israel. I don't want to say too much here, but I can tell you that there's one faction that's controlling Israel, and then there's the people of Israel, which seems to be quite divided in some inner circles from what I've heard. There's different forces. It's just like the New One World Order versus the sovereignty of nations. We have certain forces that, you're right, they're doing things that really want to create chaos and more trouble. They love more trouble. The bankers love more trouble because they get to go like this to both sides. War makes money, and chaos is always, it's a problem, reaction, solution. David Icke said that to me years ago. And of course, he said it many times in his books and on podcasts. They create a problem, and then there's a reaction, and there must be a solution. Well, it's the solution that they rush in and they love to get control. And who is they? If you go up to the top of the pyramid, it's always about the money. Always about the money. And this one looks like divine intervention comes to play before that happens. There's always destruction in the universe. When you really look, at creation, it even says in the Vedas themselves that literally divinity destroys the universe is about every 4.3 to 4.6 billion years. Interestingly, how science is saying, well, this is about how old the universe is. Isn't that interesting? So destruction is a part of this physical realm of time and space, but so is creation. Even when destruction happens, creation keeps recreating. It's like you look into Tartaria, you look at all the secrets that have been hidden in history, in our past. It clearly the ebbs and flows of destruction or recreation are constantly happening. And I think there's so many secrets to the biblical texts that are far deeper than we can decode in English. If you go back into the ancient Aramaic, the Hebrew and the Coptic and the Greek, pretty interesting stuff, how there's ciphers and codes in that stuff. I actually make pendants where I take someone's birth chart and I list the inner 7 placements of the planets in numerology. You can actually see where your soul root's connected. And one thing's for sure, this planet seems to have gone through a lot of destruction and recreation many, many times. When you think about time itself, quantum physicists will tell you that. And this is, again, where a lot of extraterrestrial things come into play. Time and space. Theoretical physicists and quantum physicists will tell you time is not an illusion, but it's a construct of time and space, or you could say event in space, because our whole time-space continuum is based off the celestial influences. Think about sunrise, noon, sunset, and midnight, the cycle of the sun around or I should say the Earth around the sun every year, and the moon around the Earth. That is, again, what our day, our year, our month, however you want to break it down, and all the divisions thereof, right down to a nanosecond and a picosecond. It's all derivable from the time-based continuum of the celestial mechanics of Earth and the rest of the planets and the sun. It's absolutely amazing. And I mean, it's crazy to not even consider that there isn't other realms of totally different time-space continuums. And when we look at that, that's what the extraterrestrials are doing. In fact, in the age of disclosure, some of the physicists are saying they figured out how these crafts are moving at such great velocities through different mediums, water, air, space. And it's because they actually are creating a different time-space continuum around them. They're literally altering time and space. And when you think about that, that has a lot to do with consciousness and the world at large. And what's fascinating to me is how astrology, or this, I like to call it the celestial mechanics, it actually shows these major ebbs and flows and changes in society. And I think we're on one right now. And I view it as actually positive, liberating, as a conscious expanding time. We just had a huge conjunction. They say it hasn't happened for thousands of years. It was Saturn and Neptune joining in February, right before we had the whole situation with Iran. Reality dissolving and a new one coming in. And, we see the wars, we see all the stuff and, the fighting, but it's much bigger than that. I think it's a lot bigger than that when you take it up to the top and look down.
When you talk about even in Israel, where there is in smaller markets, there are split allegiances and there are factions that are working toward different ends. Sometimes they have interests that converge. Other times they are at odds with each other, and one must compete for superiority in one shared space or another. When you bring up disclosure on a national level, at least over here, what about the people behind the disclosure project itself? Because you have split interest there as well. For the longest time, people who had really genuine interest about whether or not we're alone or where we are in the stack of dimensions and conscious entities or whatever the hell it is, the people who had the most, I should say, genuinely benevolent interest in the subject, they were the ones that would usually be hanging out in new media or whatever. And I'm sure there would always be, compromised people out there, and those would be considered, a limited hangout or something like that. But the fact that ever since 2017, when we started getting Tic Tac objects and everything else in the media, and all of a sudden the mocking tone started becoming a little bit more inquisitive, and then we have on Fox News a breakdown of 4 alien species, and we have all these disclosure documentaries that feature the Clintons and the Podestas, and who are very, very pro-disclosure. And it makes you wonder, do I want the same things they do? What's their end? What's the celebrity end to all this stuff? Now Steven Spielberg with his shitty movie.
Huge.
I mean, so what are the split allegiances there, and who could possibly win out if what is really at stake here is a knowledge about some greater truth about the universe? I mean, how the hell can one group even really hide that from the rest of the world?
It's not easy, but boy, they've been doing it. I mean, when you look at our media, it is so controlled. Again, this is why I think it's also coming out, is because you can't stop the podcast. You can't stop the internet. So much information is coming, and there's a lot of disinformation on that too. Certain people are out there actually purposely skewing things, and you guess who they are. But clearly, when you look at the media, it is definitely controlled on what we get to hear in mainstream media. And it's actually, some of it's outright propaganda and mind control. And I personally believe that Hollywood and the media and governments at very high levels have been intertwined with a lot of very powerful beings. And like I said, I've actually seen people shapeshift. I was in a building on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly Hills. This is probably about 28 years ago. And I was actually up in this manager's office who manages a lot of different celebrities. And I came out in the hallway and I saw this guy shapeshift. Now, these hallways in that particular building, it's right on the corner of Wilshire and Doheny. There's 2 towers there. And Kate Manalini's restaurant was right across the street. We always used to go over there and eat. Now it's closed. But this guy shapeshifted. And I think the ceilings are about 7 to 8 feet tall, probably close to 8 feet. And he literally was right up there. And what's interesting about this is, you would think it's your imagination. And yet when they notice and they get weird about it and try and get out of there really fast, that's what always makes me go, I didn't just imagine that. I know I saw that. And I know I saw that. Another time I was actually doing some translations in some old documents. And I was working with a guy who was very good at the translations. And I saw his hand morph into a claw. And I thought, wow, that's really weird. And okay, because of who he was. And what's interesting is he saw that I saw that he morphed into a claw, and he puts his hand underneath the table and got really sheepish and, immediately said, well, I got to cut this little short. I got to get going. And it was really, and I've had several instances where I've seen stuff that just shouldn't be so. And again, this reality structure, you got to remember, we're wired to the 5 senses, the 5 senses, the sight, hearing, touch, and smell, and all that, and taste as well. And our lower conscious minds are actually attenuators. If we could open up the third eye chakra and the pineal gland and truly see what is around us, we'd probably flip our cookies. There's disincarnate souls, there's entities, there's elementals, there's angels, there's demons, there's all kinds of stuff. And people say, how can you prove that? Well, I don't need proof in my own mind. I mean, I've seen and experienced too many things. I've actually had demonic forces come in and try and grab me and have light beings drive it away.
I gotta ask you something though about the transformations that you've seen, the shape shifting you've seen. It's one thing to look down to see a hand, the perfectly normal hand, is now presenting as a claw, and then they notice you noticing. It's another thing when you have somebody, the guy who turned into an 8-foot tall being.
Yeah, he was very close to that. Yeah, he was in a hallway. Right before the elevator.
Was he that size in human form as well, or did he grow?
Oh God, no. Oh no, he probably looked like. If you ever seen Galaxy Quest, remember the little aliens? They would pop out. It was almost like that. But he looked almost albino. I mean, it was like a big, gigantic,
How tall prior to transformation?
Oh, I would say not more than 5'11".
So, okay. So the average
I was way taller than that guy. And then it just poof. I'm like, whoa.
Okay. So my question to you is, and of course, this is just how you've interpreted it, what you saw there. Like, for example, I always bring up The Fourth Kind, that alien movie that where aliens, you learn in the movie that aliens are essentially using the image of the barn owl as a way to pretty much compartmentalize you from the memory of being abducted. So it's not that it was actually there. My question is, was this a physical transformation, or was some sort of a spell or a projection, a holographic reality that you saw?
That's a great question, because it's hard to discern, because it happens. These things usually happen so fast. I can tell you, here, I'll show you something that's really cool if I can find them. I got them here somewhere. Have you heard of the Aura glasses? I don't know where I put them.
From They Live?
They're the Dicenium glass.
Oh, yes. Yes, we talked about that.
I think his name was, Dr. Walter Kilner. And I got mine somewhere here.
We talked about how those were used to see spirits in the Vietnam jungle.
Yeah. And also how you can see, I got mine around here. I just had them on a little while ago. I don't know where the heck I put them. Oh, they're in the other room. That's right. But you can actually, if you hold them up against a white paper, You can actually see the aura around your hands. If you stand up against a white wall, you can see or have someone else stand up against it. And you're not looking at shadows. In fact, proof of it is if you move enough to where the shadow is not there, and you can see the outline around an individual, a head, a hand, or whatever it is that you're looking at, you can actually see it's almost like an etheric colored kind of violet, or yeah, it's kind of a violet color with those glasses. And you can actually see irregularities in an aura. In fact, they actually used it in medical diagnostics, and it was outlawed in the United States, from what I heard. In the early 1900s, they just outlawed them. But yeah, you can see a lot of very interesting things with this. And that's proves my point. The conscious mind is actually a blockage or an attenuator. You know, I had a great podcast a while back, had a lady on, her son, who's autistic. I don't know if you've heard about this, but the telepathy tapes are amazing. And what happens here is this doctor had figured out how to allow these autistic children to communicate through a device called spelling to speak, or yeah, I think that's how you say it, spelling to speak. It just allows them to type in what they want to say. And the interesting thing, they're finding all these, not all, but most of them are very psychic and telepathic. They can talk to deceased relatives. They talk to animals. In fact, the lady that I had on, she was literally speaking how her son was telling her that his horse that he goes to ride at the equine center had a friend that just died 6 months ago. So the mother goes to the equine center and says, was there a horse that used to be with my son's horse that he rides now? About 6 months. Yeah, the horse just died. And he even had the name of the horse. So it's amazing. And then he'll come and say, oh, your mother was here, or I meet on the hill with the relatives that were deceased and they have messages for you. He'll tell his mother the movie she just watched. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And, you know, it proves that our consciousness is very blocked. And if we can learn to get out of our way and open up, we can actually learn to see auras without those glasses, and we can see shape shifting. And I also think that this is some of the positive things that I see coming up here over the next couple of years. This Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we just had happen back in February we have not seen a conjunction at 0 degrees Aries in the tropical zodiac like that for probably the better part of 26,000 years. Now, I did research and I went back, and it's been at least that long. That's huge. And what does it mean? Well, Neptune is the psychic subconscious connection to the so-called subconscious mind, which is much more than that. It's the upper layers of the soul. And Saturn is our structures of reality. If you look at the glyph of Saturn, it's the cross over the crescent of the moon. Previously concretized beliefs or habit patterns, or you could say reality structures, now grounding out through the moon, which is indicative of the lower perception of reality we call the conscious mind. You know, Carl Jung, I always loved his work because he dabbled a lot in synchronicities and, you know, mysteries of the universe. Even Dr. John Mack, who I had the chance to meet before he was killed in London, he was looking into abduction phenomena. You know, are these people crazy? Are they imagining this? Are they psychotic? And his conclusion, it was unequivocally, no, these people are telling the truth. They really feel they've been abducted, and he believed that they were. And so many other researchers, Barbara Lamb, was also a good friend of ours, has talked about this as well. She does regressionary therapies. And there's no way these people are making this up and imagining these things. Now, some of it, I think our government has been involved with. There's so many layers to the deep black ops stuff that's been going on. And see, this is why it's not just the bankers. It's a much deeper rabbit hole than just this. Just like the whole stuff going on over there with Ukraine and Russia, that rabbit hole goes way deeper. There's a lot of stuff they're not telling us of what's really going on. You get the biolabs and the trafficking and all that stuff, but there's a lot more going on than that. And the billions upon billions that are poured into these wars and exchanging hands. Pretty interesting stuff. We're clearly in a reality structure that I think is a lot different than is portrayed in our normal reality. You know, it's very deep stuff.
It's going to make for a very interesting 250th. and an even more interesting summer. And I can't wait to get an end of summer report.
The next couple of years is going to be very interesting.
I'm gathering that no matter what, but I can't wait to get an end of summer report with you. Of course, if something huge happens, maybe we bring you in for an emergency update. But this has been fantastic, Jeff. I'm so happy we got to talk to you again. First time since February, but now it's warm, and now we're getting ready to celebrate for the 4th. And please let everybody know where to find you and when you're live next, because I know you have your show as well.
Yeah. Well, everyone can watch my podcast. It's at Jeff Harmon Astrologer, and that's on YouTube. And I have a lot of people joining there, and I love it because people bring in comments, and that's good. But for readings and such, if people want talismanic gemstones, you can go to Jeff at jeffharman.com. That's HARMAN.com. So, but join me on my podcast. We have a lot of fun.
There he is, right there.
Look at a lot of comments too.
Well, I linked Jeff Harmon's YouTube to our bio here for the show tonight. So all you got to do is go into the bio and click right through. You'll get to his YouTube and have a lot of fun. He's very active. He's always working. And Jeff, I thank you so much for more time that you've given us tonight.
You bet. Well, thanks for having me on, bud. It's always good to be with you.
Always, always. Have a good one.
Okay. You as well. Thanks.
There you go. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, the theme of tonight's show, was the accidental reality check. And boy, has everything been about that in one way or another. It has been fantastic. I really appreciate you all being on. Now, let me give you a little bit of give you some silver and some copper. Let's see who is going to win. I've added Porpoiseful. No, I'm sorry. Porpoiseful just claimed a bronze subscription. That's JR at the Lake who gave it. Dean Z, Frank deserves a cookie. I put Dean in there before, and JR at the Lake says, great show as always. Everything else has been added. Oh, Doll76 just said, can you ask Jeff if he unlocked his pineal with psychedelics or natural? Well, I didn't see that. We could talk about that next time. Make sure you email me when you know that Jeff is coming on or anything. Let me put you in there again. Sorry, Doll. My bad. Doll76. How did Jeff unlock his pineal gland? Tell us all about it, Jeff. And that's what we have. East to West 525 says, enjoy New England, Frank. Thank you so much, East to West. Thank you. Zoso Dude says, be sure and get my name in there. You're in. Running on Empty 4954 is in as well through Super Chat. So thank you so much for the YouTube activity. Pilled Chat just swarms me with pills over there. I thank you guys so much. YouTube in the last hour, a nice little swarm from you guys, and let's see who wins. Okay, let's see who wins. I've got Running on Empty and Kobe Shumway and Ninvet. Everybody's in. Okay. The runner-up prize, which is, pretty much on par with first prize, is a tube of the botanical chocolate from yescacao.com. It's on the affiliates page. From one of our friends, from Jonathan, who sent us a whole bag of these mission patches for SpaceX. That's over there with the chocolate. Our good friend Shake and Bake sent us the $2 bill. This is an official $2 bill. It is an official printing. But there's a special dedication for America 250 for the attack on Pearl Harbor and to the U.S. Navy. So there you go. And then we have an ounce of copper, and we have a 1957 quarter, 90% silver, and a 1964. There you have it. Who is the first winner? Away it goes. Dewdrop 866. I know that name. This might be Dewdrop's first time winning. Now, Dewdrop, make sure you email me your address. I'll be able to send this out hopefully on Sunday afternoon or Monday morning because we're leaving tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to get the UPS before then. All right, so now we have 2 more silver quarters, 1964, and this one is probably late 20s or 1930 because it's the second and final Standing Liberty quarter. The second and final Standing Liberty quarter we have an ounce of copper, a SpaceX mission patch, and then also a free bag of Keto Brainz by our good friend Molly over ketobrainz.com. Please go there this weekend and get your orders in. So she has a whole new stock in there. Get the nanokinase, start cleaning out your arteries and support your blood pressure. And then on top of it, a 1953 series $2 bill with that beautiful, almost counterfeit green on the back. Who wins this one? Away we go. Kobe Shumway. Kobe Shumway. And that's a YouTube winner, right? Kobe Shumway, a YouTube winner for less than an hour ago, threw in $5 at the very tail end. Okay? You got to be in it to win it. There's so many odds-defying winners over the last couple of months. Thank you, everybody, so much for just supporting the show. It doesn't raise a lot of money, but it helps some, and it's just fun. Like last week when I gave away the bottle of oil and the salt and the honey and all that stuff. Let me tell you that if there was any profit to be made, it went to shipping. Let me tell you, to ship that. He said, just to let you know, it's going to be X amount of dollars. I went, okay. Yeah, it's fun. I just want to get you guys involved, and I have a wonderful time doing all this. So thank you for supporting me. Thank you. And just remember, join the Culture Club. Go to quitefrankly.tv/sponsor. It takes Culture Club. Wherever you join, you're in the Culture Club. But if you want something special, go to patreon.com. Because I'd love to get some station ID sponsors. I'd love to get some more people in the postcard sponsors. Now that we're doing special edition, quite frankly, postcards every month. These are not coming from a stationery store. This is ours. So we just sent out all of the Junes today. That's it, gays. That's all. And I'll see you on the flip side. It's time to go commit some crimes. So come to the flip side right now and commit crimes with me and the rest of the Franklies. I'll be putting the link in the chat room, and if you don't see it, then just go to quitefrankly.tv and press play. That's the best way to do it. Thank you all so much. I'll have something premiering tomorrow around 7 o'clock. What we had done, what me and Timothy Gordon did with Father Chad Ripperger, about aliens and exorcisms and all that other stuff. It's about an hour long, so it's not like you're missing out completely tomorrow. And there'll be other little things along the way in the weekend, hopefully to keep us together. But I'll be updating from the road, and I'll be updating especially from the road for you monthly sponsors. So I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. You son of a bitch. It was almost perfect. Yeah, moo all you want. Go ahead.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you, everybody. Quite frankly, is filmed before a silent studio audience. And now, our super chatters. There's too many of you, thankfully. Thank God. Thank God for all of you. I'll talk to you soon. And I'm putting the link in the chat. So come join us for a couple more minutes until the lights go out. There you go. Good night. I love you all.
A kitty cat.
You're a kitty cat?
Your turn.
Hello. I'm a kitty cat as well.
Will you shut up? No.